Hi guys, Larry Blackwell again, and this is day 3 of my series on emotional intelligence and Tim Sykes' 30-day boot camp. So in day 3 of the boot camp, Tim talks about patience when it comes to trading. He reminds us that trading is a marathon, not a sprint. Now we've all heard that phrase before, but how do we put that into practice? How do we actually build our patience? One of the things here in the Western civilization, we are not good at being patient. Think about it. You go to the grocery store, you're standing at the checkout line, you're looking at the line next to you, saying, which one's faster? Oh, this one's got 4 people, that one's got 3. Should I move? Should I stay? Same thing in traffic. We're sitting there trying to decide which lane is going to go faster than the one we're in. What's the point? We're going to save ourselves, seconds, maybe a couple minutes, but it's really tough to tolerate waiting. Luckily, at the grocery stores, they do things like put magazines out there, and we have our cell phones. But these things are actually really harmful to us. What they do is they distract us. They keep us from being in the moment. And while we're sitting there looking at our phones, maybe getting alerts or playing a game, we're giving ourselves these dopamine dumps. They're little releases of dopamine, the feel-good hormone in our brain, that is great, but it makes us want more. So the more that happens, the less we end up being able to just sit and wait. Think about that. When was the last time you've actually just sat in a grocery line and didn't pull out your phone, didn't look at anything, maybe just observe the people around you? It's really hard to do if you're not used to doing it. Now, the funny thing is, if you go to some of the third world countries, you'll find that people have to walk an hour to the well to get their water, then they got to wait in line an hour to get their water, and then they walk home, and they're totally content. Their happiness is actually rated very often higher than Americans because they have the ability to be in the moment and be patient. All right, so one of the things we have to do is we have to build our frustration tolerance. That's our ability to tolerate waiting. Okay, now this is how we're going to do it. Okay, number 1, we're going to try to put our phones away for at least an hour a day. It may be at dinner or you pick the time, but put it away. Don't put it in your pocket. I would actually put it in another room, put it on silent so you don't hear it. Now, this may be hard, but if it is, that just speaks to how much of an issue this really is for you. But as you go and practice it, we're going to increase your time. Okay, number 2, you got to think of a behavior you want to change. Now, that might be how much you eat, how much you drink, how much time you spend playing video games, whatever. And to modify that behavior, you got to start putting some limits on it. You got to put some boundaries on it. So you might set a time limit for how much you're going to be on video games. Set your alarm on your clock, and give yourself a warning, because if it just goes off and you're like, it's time to get off, I'm in the middle of a game, you gotta just keep going. So, give yourself a 10, 15-minute warning, get off the game once the time is up. Same thing with drinks. Try to limit how much you're gonna drink before you start. When it comes to eating, write down everything you eat. Try to limit how much you're doing. The idea here is you're learning to set boundaries for yourself, because again, in America and the rest of the Western civilization, we tend to just overindulge in everything we do. And while we have the ability to do that, that doesn't mean it's a good thing for us. We are much better off if we limit ourselves and have some internal control over what we do and how much we do. Okay, number 3, next time you're at the grocery store, practice patience. Pick a line and don't move from it. Don't look at the other lines other than to observe them, but don't sit there and say, man, I picked the wrong line. Just sit and wait. Don't pull out your phone. Don't pull out a magazine. Don't, if you notice yourself becoming impatient, that's okay. You're going to do it. But just notice that you're going, oh, man, I'm starting to get a little frustrated. What's the difference? I'm going to be a couple minutes longer. Not the end of the world. Just let it go. Notice if the line next to you is moving faster. Instead of being judgmental about it, going, damn, I should have been in that line, just go, maybe it's, is it the size of their carts? Is it the speed of the checkout person? Just an observation, with no judgment. You're just trying to be in the moment. Look at the people around you. Just be aware and take a couple minutes to enjoy that moment in time. Believe it or not, you'll find some things interesting. Okay, the last piece about mindfulness, and this is key, but it's also the hardest part, is learning to be non-judgmental. So we as human beings are not very good at being non-judgmental. I mean, we judge everything. Everything comes from our perception that, this is how people should do things. So we look at other people and think, what are they doing? Look at the way they're acting or talking or whatever. And we do the same thing about ourselves. We sit there and think, I should have done this better. I should have done that. So when it comes to being mindful, what happens to all of us is we'll be doing something and we get this judgmental thought that I should be doing it differently, I'm messing up, some intrusive thought. So for example, let's say you're eating lunch and you're trying to be mindful, observing the way you're chewing and how the food, tastes and feels in your mouth. And suddenly the thought comes in, I'm not getting this. I can't stay focused. That's a judgment. The idea is not to get stuck and ruin your mindfulness. It's to say, that's a judgment, and just let it go. All right? It's not easy at first because it might bounce right back, but that's okay. You just let it go again. The more you practice just not holding on to those judgments, but letting them kind of pass through your head, the quicker they go through, and eventually the more of a gap you get between judgments. But judgments will occur. Again, the trick is just to observe them and let them go. Because if we get mad, we're making a judgment right there that we shouldn't be having this judgment. All right? So mindfulness it's a difficult thing to master, but if you do it every day, 10 or 15 minutes, you will start seeing results, and you have to hang in there. So just like anything else worth learning, you're not going to get it in that first day or week or even month. But you'll start noticing changes and benefits after a short period of time. But it's a lifelong practice, right? So I promise you, if you do this, if you make this just a small part of your day, the impact it's going to have on everything, including your trading, is going to be phenomenal. All right, guys. Talk to you soon.